I got this email, and I'm like, what is this email? It looks important. It was like bold letters. Open it up, and it was a cease and desist. It was, to me, I thought it was like, it's over. I'm getting sued. I'm gonna lose all my money. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I just started the business. At the time, I had a girlfriend. She's my wife now, and I was like, man, I want to marry this person. I want to buy the ring, and rings are expensive. And I'm thinking like, what's going on? I just crisis mode was on basically, probably for like a couple of days.
Welcome back, everyone, to the From Crisis to Justice podcast. I'm your host, Parag Amin, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Josh Rincon. Josh empowers individuals to build generational wealth through financial literacy as the program director for Avance Latino. He leads initiatives that uplift communities and promote financial education for secure financial futures. In addition to his role at Avance Latino, Josh is a digital marketing expert and finance creator who grew to over 2.6 million followers across multiple platforms in just 2 years. His ability to break down complex financial concepts has made him a trusted resource for many. Josh's work as a finance creator has also led to collaborations with major Fortune 500 companies such as Adobe, Discover Financial, Meta, and many more. Beyond his professional achievements, Josh is a newlywed, enjoying his exciting new chapter of his life with his wonderful wife. His passion for personal growth and empowering others extends to every aspect of his life, making him an influential figure in the world of finance and beyond. Welcome, Josh. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you, Parag. Man, that intro is like amazing. Thank you. That was an amazing intro. I love it.
Yeah, listen, you're an amazing person. So an amazing intro for an amazing person. Tell us, Josh, tell us a little bit about how you got into the financial influencer space, and tell us a little bit about, building this following from, I assume, nothing to over 2.6 million followers today.
Yeah, it was back in 2019 when I, had the desire to talk about financial literacy because of my first job. Right out of college, I was a loan officer, and I got to see people's finances, everything. I got to see their taxes, their credit reports, credit scores, bank statements, what they were spending money on. And I realized that people were not saving money. They weren't good with their money, all across the board, different backgrounds, different income levels. And I was like, I got to do something about it. I've always loved being on camera, but more like as a comedic type person, but nothing about financial literacy. So I was like, well, let's do it. Let's try it out. I started posting on YouTube, long format content. It did all right, but it was at the time, 2020 during the pandemic, where short form content exploded, everywhere. And so I was like, I got to transition. I got to do a 360 transition. Sometimes we got to do that in life. I got to adapt into what's trending. And so I did the short form content that exploded on TikTok. Within a week, I got like 100,000 followers on TikTok. That was insane. And then I was like, I got to do the same on Instagram. So I started from zero on Instagram. I started growing up to date. Today, I believe I'm at a little bit over 600,000 followers. It's a huge blessing. But the crazy thing is Facebook. That was the last platform most recent one that I grew to over 1.5 million followers. I did the same thing I did on TikTok that I did on Instagram, same videos, was just consistent, kept posting. I guess there was just a bigger need there, or people were just wanting to hear that content. And here I am a couple of years later, like you mentioned in my intro, 2.6 million followers, I'm living a dream. I've always wanted to, do something like this and be able to not just create content just to create, but I'm actually empowering people through the content is a huge blessing. So I love what I do.
Yeah, that's great. I watch a lot of your content. It's very useful. A lot of tips on finance and financial tips of everything from maybe how to get a refund from an airline to how to be able to get your Nikes replaced. Facts you wouldn't really be able to find anywhere else. So I appreciate that amazing content that you're putting out.
Yeah,
How did you go about getting into the space of becoming an influencer? Did you have a coach? Did you just figure it out on your own? And what advice do you have for our listeners who may want to get into the same space?
If you are already like for yourself, you're an attorney, if you're an attorney, if you're a CPA, for example, if you're a teacher, if you're a chef, like obviously people that are listening have some sort of skill or career or in something. It doesn't really matter. It could be in anything. You already are an expert in the field. See how you could start making content so people can maybe learn about your field. Maybe you give tips. Maybe it's about cooking. Maybe it's about that. So that's step one. Figuring out what you're good at. I thought I was at the time really loved finance and was good at it. So obviously I'm still learning more and more. I don't want to ever stop learning more. But whatever, find that out. Whatever niche it is, stick to it. If you're finance, stick to finance. If it's legal tips, stick to the legal tips. If it's cooking tips, whatever it is, and then you got to be consistent. I know it's very like cliche or very like, well, of course you got to be consistent, but it's truly, for me, I was posting probably like not every single day, but I was posting reels roughly 4 to 5 a week on Instagram, on Facebook, and on TikTok, because I knew as I'm growing my audience, every time as you're going, whenever a video goes viral, it's not that your audience saw it, it's a lot of new people that saw it. So sometimes you're like, I don't want to bombard my audience. No, a lot of new people are watching you and seeing you. You're growing. I had a lot of inspiration from other people, but to say I had someone that was next to me guiding me, I didn't. But there's so much resources out there. You can go any platform, in TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and you can kind of learn from other people. And just try to find inspiration from someone you like want to look up to. Like if you're trying to be someone like me, finance creator, see what I do, see how you can do the same or something similar, but make it better. Put it your own twist, because everyone's unique and different. They have their own style or whatever it is. So I think that's the best thing I would say for someone that's wanting to become a creator.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, what do you think about, is there an aspect of showmanship that you would suggest or recommend that people get into? I mean, you hear like well, just be yourself, but some people just aren't entertaining. So what tips do you have for those people?
Some people, yeah. I think I know I'm gonna say it again. Yeah, it is good to be yourself, because some people like there's some people when they go very viral because they are super boring and people like that. They just like it plain, cut to the chase, no special effects, nothing crazy. And I've seen people that talk about finance that are super energetic and crazy, and so much editing done, to someone basic reading off a script that he writes. This guy called Clear Value Tax on YouTube, who's grown to millions of followers. Literally gets a paper, reads it, simple, to the point, but he's been successful doing that. So I think in today's day and age, I don't feel like there's one way of doing it. There's just so many ways that you could do it.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So just kind of find what works for you, and your vibe will attract your tribe kind of thing, whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. And there's even some people that have faceless things that they just like, maybe on a piece of paper they write it. They don't want to show their face. Here's a legal tip. Here's a finance tip. Here's a cooking tip, or whatever it is. And so there's some people that do it without even showing their face. So
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so, in terms of financial advice for you, is that like growing up in your household, were you given a lot of financial tips? What was money like in your household, and the mindset around it and the teachings around it?
yeah, that's a good question. Because I mean, a lot of us don't grow up, with anyone guiding us financially. School doesn't teach it. And so, both my parents are immigrants from Mexico. They came at a young age. They were able to, learn the language, be able to finally be able to grow their wealth after so many years of struggling, raising the kids. But one thing that I really learned from my parents is the power of saving. They were big savers, not investing, not understanding the economy, so investing into the stock market, real estate, and all those different things, but more of the basic things like living within your means. That's what I got from my parents. It wasn't until I was older in college and as I was learning more things where I was like, wow, you shouldn't just save. You should save with a purpose, to invest, to buy a house, to whatever it is. And that was the biggest thing from my parents. They taught me about budgeting, like spend less than you make, but there's so much more than that, right? Especially if you want to build wealth. So I had no one. I had to learn myself, but I'm glad I was able to learn myself, because that kind of pushes you to learn more. And there's so many resources out there, free resources too.
Yeah, and for somebody who's looking to grow their financial knowledge, what kind of resources would you suggest, whether it's free or paid?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, so there's free and paid. So when it comes to free, one of the best ones is books. Books, there's so many books out there that, are going to help you with whatever it is, whether it's how to become a millionaire, what does that even mean? What does that look like, a millionaire net worth? To There's courses out there from very reliable, credible people. There's also a lot. I mean, you can learn a lot from the internet when it comes to like incredible resources and learning from a lot of the resources out there. There's FDIC. It's a agency from the government. They have their own financial literacy curriculum that actually, where I work at the nonprofit, we use a lot of that curriculum to teach a lot of young people and adults basics from credit, home ownership, investing, protecting your wealth, everything, and it's all free. There's a lot of free resources, and that's from the FDIC. It's called Smart Money, I believe. And so there's a lot of resources out there. Obviously, there's paid, like you can take courses, you can take trainings. They're available out there. But when it comes to free resources, there's also a lot of free resources as well that I definitely recommend.
Okay, good. So, in terms of navigating the challenges of business, is this your first business?
Yes, this is my first business.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff you know that you know. There's a lot of stuff that you know you don't know. But then there's like a whole lot more stuff that you don't know that you don't know. So, what's that been like for you, that process of learning? And is there a way that you've been able to accelerate it a little bit?
I've learned that it's good to learn things like, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to formalizing your business, LLC, S Corp, and all those things. I think it's good to get a general education. But at the end of the day, if you're going to try to learn and be an expert at those things, it might get in the way of actually growing your business. So for me, I think the best thing for me is there's experts out there like yourself, or other professionals, financial advisors, CPAs. I mean, that's what they're there for. You can hire them and they'll take away that stress and ask them, hey, if you did my taxes, kind of explain what you did with it, right? But that's the biggest thing for me is, time is money. And if I want to focus on growing my business, I got to hire the right people, the professionals that can take care of more like the administrative side of business or whatever, legal side, financial side. And I think that's a huge thing that's helping me grow my business, or else I feel like I'd be stuck. I wouldn't be growing as much. I'd be at the same place I was a year ago, trying to figure it all on my own when there's so many resources. Yes, you have to pay, but you have to invest into your business in order to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of navigating some of the challenges that come up in business, look, unfortunately, crises are inevitable when it comes to businesses. Have you faced any kind of crises, whether it's legal crises or others, that you think would be helpful for our listeners to learn from, to hear about and learn from?
Yes, I have one, I think, great example, especially if you're a small business and you probably maybe experienced this or never have. But I remember like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I was at an event. I got this email and I'm like, what is this email? It looks important. It was like bold letters. Open it up and it was a cease and desist. It was, to me, I thought it was like, it's over. I'm getting sued. I'm going to lose all my money. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I just started the business. At the time, I had a girlfriend. She's my wife now. And I was like, man, I want to marry this person. I want to, I want to buy the ring, and rings are expensive. And I'm thinking like, what's going on? I just, crisis mode was on basically, probably for like a couple of days. But that same person, my wife now, she's the one that actually calmed me down and told me, well, talk to a lawyer or something, figure it out. I think you'll be fine. And so thanks to her. And so I started doing research. I was like, okay, I got to calm down. I can figure this out. People get sued all the time, right? There has to be a way to, or get cease and desist. I did research. I was going on Google. I was able to find a professional, an attorney that was going to more like break down what the cease and desist was. Obviously, I'm not going to go into details, but they calmed me down a little. But like, hey, I don't really work with litigation and like, one to one, like if they were to try to sue you or anything like that. So I recommend these people. Look at them, look at the reviews, and just choose one of these people. One of those people were yourself, Parag. And I looked at the reviews, I looked at everything. I was like, okay, let's set up a consultation. And man, that was worth every single penny, because that put me in a place of like confidence, peace. Hey, even if things were to go south, even if they were, wanting to go through with the lawsuit or whatever, take it to court or whatever, I felt like you were going to defend. You gave me so much confidence. And after that meeting, I felt like, wow, like, thank God that I was able to find someone like yourself. And from where I was when I first got that email, that cease and desist, I was really scared, because I was like, I'm about to lose everything. That's my mentality. That's what I thought. But obviously, I've learned a lot more. You taught me a lot too in the conversation. So I was able to learn that, hey, like there's people out there like Parag that can help you and can understand and can navigate these, crises with you. And that was an amazing experience well, not in the beginning, it was scary, but after the ending, the end result was great. Thankfully, I haven't had any other legal issue after that. But if I do, I know who hit up. I know who to hit up now.
Well, I appreciate that, Josh. Let me ask you, when you reached out, like, did you feel like, how important do you think that it is that your lawyer or the professional that you're working with is easy to get along with, that you understand them? Do you think that's important, or do you think that's not really important?
I think it's very important because I mean the whole experience itself can be intimidating. You get like the cease and desist or whatever it is, that you get in your email or mail or whatever. You're already intimidated. You're a little scared. You're a little kind of like on the defense mode. And if I feel like you talk to a lawyer and they're kind of like maybe aggressive with you or not really friendly, I don't know. I think that's really important because you want to feel like confident that this person is going to work for you, going to help you, guide you. So, and that's what I felt from you. And I feel like that's super important. At least in my case, that was super important. Being a new business owner, I thought my business was on the line. Who do I trust? Who do I talk to? So that was super important.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, how did you keep your cool? How did you keep your calm and collection throughout this whole process? And what tips do you have?
I think the biggest thing was knowing like, hey, if that other person or business organization hired an attorney to help them, send that cease and desist, there's another person on the other side that'll help me defend me. And there's professionals that, put in the work. I don't have to, break my head and try to figure out how can I fight this or how can I figure this out. I hire a professional. They'll figure it out with me. And that calmed me down. My girlfriend too at the time was my wife now. She calmed me down a lot too because I was just worried, being that provider mentality. I was like, man, like I've saved up all this money, thinking I was gonna, put it towards a wedding, our savings, eventually get a house and all those things. And I was like, it's all gonna disappear because of this situation. And so I just try to go back and think of all the good things, have a mindset of it's all gonna be okay. It's nothing to worry about, especially after I had that conversation with you. It helped me a lot to calm down and just be like, hey, whatever happens, even if we do have to go to court, like I know someone that's going to represent me and going to help me. And so, yeah, that helped me out a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been reading this book by Dan Sullivan called Who Not How. And it talks a lot about the idea of, as an entrepreneur, and I've been there myself, where there's a lot of, hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And that many times that's not the right question. That instead of asking how I can do this, the right question is who can do this? Meaning you want to replace the hows with who's to really hyper accelerate your growth. To your point earlier, taking your focus off your business to go focus on something else, to try to control something or learn something that you don't know, that's not your area of expertise, and it may not be something that you can quite excel at or something you may not even like. So instead of taking your focus off your main thing, you're distracted by something that's not your main thing, and instead letting the who, for whom that is their main thing, whatever problem you're trying to solve, find the person for whom that is their main thing. That is what they do to be able to hyper accelerate your growth. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
1,000%. I think hiring those people to help you to focus on those issues that you're not an expert at is going to help you. I've experienced it myself, so I don't just agree with it, but I'm a living, testimony of that yeah, by not focusing on those things, it's going to help you grow. And for me, I create content on, that's my business. I create content, I work with different brands. Eventually I want to have different services that I provide my audience. But for me to focus on my creativity side of creating content, making sure it's, content that's good and relevant for my audience. And it's, I can continue growing. If I have to focus on those things, I'm not going to be as creative. I'm not going to be pushing out content like I have been. So it's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our entrepreneur and business owner listeners, what is some advice you have as they're going through their entrepreneurial journey? Like what's, if you could give one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh man, there's so much things I could say. Excuse me. There's so much things I could say. If I can say one thing that can give someone advice, I think zoom out. I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to you're going through an issue, or maybe even you're going through a good time. So this applies to everything you're experiencing. Good time, bad time, zoom out. you don't want to get too comfortable where you're like, everything's great. I got my first $10,000 a month or whatever. You zoom out, the last 6 months was really bad. You were losing money. Or vice versa. Man, I'm not making any money yet. My business is not growing. Zoom out. You just started. Give it some time. You're gonna get there. I think that's the biggest thing for me is I'm growing my business. It's over a year now.
Yeah, I love that.
I gotta zoom out.
I love that.
And see. And it helps me out so much with so many things that come up that I gotta just zoom out. I apply to everything in my life, but when it comes to business, zoom out. If it's a dark day, better days are coming. If it's a good day, hey, prepare yourself. Put a little bit of money aside. If it was a great month, there might be a month where it's a little slow or whatever it is, right? So I think zooming out is super important.
Yeah, I love that. Is that something you came up with, or did somebody tell you that? And if somebody told you that, who told you that?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing I learned that from is when it comes to the stock market. I think when people think about investing, they think about the next couple of days. Oh, the stock went down, it went up. And I apply it in the same way. When you zoom out, when you look at the overall stock or the stock market overall, you see that it's been overall going up. Yeah, there's some dips in between. And that's how I apply it, that when you zoom out, like, for example, at a stock or something like that, or even the value of a house, over time, it went up. So you got to zoom out. So that's how I connected it for my business.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Josh, if our listeners want to be able to find you, what are your handles on TikTok? If TikTok's still going to be around in a few months, where can they find you? Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever other mediums you're on.
Yeah, of course. So I keep it simple. My handle is Josh Rincon. Like my last name is Rincon, but add one more N. So Josh Rincon across the board. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like you said, if it's still here. And yeah, that's how you guys can find me. And
that's
if you
great.
want to follow me or whatever. But yeah, that's where I'm at across the board. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And do you have a website?
I do not have a website. I don't have a website, but it's just mostly social media. If you want to check out what I'm doing through the nonprofit, the work that we're doing, because we work with a lot of schools, a lot of high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, or we teach financial literacy. If you want to know that side of my life, it's avancelatino.org or .com, avancelatino.org or .com. And that's where we teach financial education. Or if you want to collab with us or work with us, maybe you represent a school or something, that's another way too. But yeah, thank you.
And Avance, is that AVANCE Latino,
yes.
LATINO?
Yes, my bad. I totally forgot that. Yeah, that's a Spanish word. Yeah, Avance Latino, AVANCE Latino.org or .com, whichever works. Yeah, appreciate it.
Perfect. Awesome, guys. Check him out. Josh is doing big things. We very much appreciate all the advice and support you're giving everybody to help them on their path towards financial freedom, Josh. And as always, I appreciate all you listeners joining in for From Crisis to Justice. We're going to keep bringing you new episodes to help you and your business thrive in any environment. Like and subscribe so you get new content notifications as soon as they're out. Thanks, everybody.